And are we live? Are we live? I can click. Oh, you beauty. Hello, everybody. How are you? Welcome to our show tonight. I'm Kath Armstrong from the Cheapskates Club, and the voice that you may hear over to my left is Hannah. Hannah is our live chat moderator tonight. If you'd like to join the live chat, you need to be logged into your Gmail account or your YouTube account or your YouTube channel. That's what YouTube calls an account. They call it your channel. And that's a YouTube thing. It's not a Kath thing. I can't do anything about that. If you don't have either of those and you still want to leave a comment, put one in the comments below. And also, just a reminder to please put your questions all in capitals so that they stand out in the chat, because it goes by really quickly for me. I can't keep up with it, but Hannah has trouble too when it's scrolling by really quickly to pick up the questions. And so if they stand out, I'll do my best to answer them at the end of the show. So let's get started. Who wouldn't like to save $3,500 a year? I would. Yeah, Hannah would. She would, really. I have some really startling figures that I think might really make you stop and think about how you look at dinner time. Really blew my mind. Australians are buying more takeaway, I guess you probably knew that, and getting it delivered, I guess you knew that too, than ever before. Look, the restrictions of the last 16 months helped with this, especially here in Victoria, forcing people to go the delivery option rather than eating out. And often, for many people, it was for the first time and they decided they liked it. And of course, the popularity of the delivery service makes it even more tempting, because really, who wants to go out and stand in a queue or wait in a drive-through when they could be home with their feet up, enjoying time with the family? Right? That's a good reason or / excuse for getting, takeaway or delivery to home. So here are the scary figures. Well, they're scary to me. And I'm hoping they'll be scary to you too, especially if you think the odd bought meal won't hurt your budget. Now, the figures are from 2019. I couldn't get any later than that. But the average spend per person per transaction on takeaway is $13.60. The average spend per person for dinner is $15.20 on takeaway. The average number of transactions per year per person, 65. The total annual spend per person is $880, or over $3,500 a year, $3,520 to be exact. And that's a month's wages. Who wants to work for a month just to pay for takeaway? I don't. I'm pretty sure you don't either. The total annual transactions on takeaway food in Australia in 2019, 1.6 billion. Average daily transactions for takeaway meals, 4.5 million. So this means that on average, about half of Australian households have at least one person ordering takeaway food every day. So these figures were from Future Food. The ABS figures I could find were from 2016, so I thought they were a bit old. Guys, those figures are scary. They're really, really scary. When you look at the big picture, they are horrifying. People are screaming that they can't afford food and they want more money, and yet on average, they're spending a year of the $300 a month food challenge on just one meal of takeaway once a week or so. One meal, folks. So if you're thinking you can't live on the $300 a month food challenge, if you think you can't get your grocery bill down, if you still have takeaway even once a week, think about those figures. Then think about not overspending on food with takeaway and instead putting that money into your grocery budget. Hannah's doing some sums there. I could see her fingers going on her little calculator thing. Now, I know that if you leave thinking about dinner until dinner time, it's most likely that cooking is the last thing you want to do. And you'll have a good case of the can't be bothered. Now, I know because today, this afternoon, it happened to me. Honestly, it got to 4:30 and I really can't be bothered. I do not want to get tea. I just can't be bothered. Now, our dinner tonight was super simple. It was spag bol. You can't get much simpler than that, much easier or much faster, especially when the sauce is already cooked and in the freezer. It just had to be heated and all I had to do was cook the pasta and put it on the plates. I still had that. Really, seriously, I do not want to get up and go and cook dinner. It happens. I got over it and we did have a spag bol for dinner. But that's why I keep freezer meals in the freezer, so that I'm not spending $3,500 a year on takeaway food for my family. It'd be more because we're a bigger family. That's why I double batch cook. Look, cooking may not be your favourite chore. It certainly isn't mine. I don't like cooking dinner, but it's something that needs to be done every day, especially if you want or need to stick to a grocery spending plan. We're all busy. Some of us work 2 jobs, our home job and a job outside our home. Some of us work 2 jobs outside of our home. Some of us have babies or young children. Some of us have teenagers that need to be ferried around and taxied here and there to sport or music or whatever, youth groups, whatever. Some of us work shifts with variable hours. Some of us have families who all come in and out at different times of an evening. Don't despair. I've been there through all of those stages. And that's how Tuesday night became pasta night in our house. Pasta is quick, it's easy to prepare, it can easily be reheated. So, when Wayne had tech on a Tuesday night, I chose pasta dishes for Tuesday night so it would be ready to eat when he walked in the door, because back in those days, he only had 20 minutes at home before he had to leave again to get to tech. If time is what is pushing you towards takeaway or Uber Eats or Menulog or whatever else there is out there, you can easily change to cooking at home in the same time frame and keep that money in your budget. It just comes down to time management. Now, I know that's easy for me to say right now because I don't have little ones and I'm not working 2 jobs out of the house, and and I know for some of you that time management is a foreign concept. You just don't get it. For others, it's natural. Some of you just plan and then work the plan. One of the easiest ways to save cooking time throughout the week is to plan your meals ahead of time. Who'd have thought menu planning would save you time? It does. It frees up the time you spend each night trying to decide what to make for dinner. It stops you racing to the supermarket, standing in line to pay for your purchases, and then driving back home to cook them. Especially at the end of a day when you're really tired, you don't want to do that. And they're the most common reasons I get for resorting to takeaway. I'm working, I'm too busy, I don't have time, I've got to go here, I've got to go there. It's easier to just pick up takeaway on the way home, or when I get home, get it delivered. They're not reasons, they're excuses. I suggest you sit down, write out the meals you'll have during the week, just the dinners. and make one trip to the supermarket. Use your shopping list, get it all. You can plan your meals according to what you have in the fridge, the freezer, the pantry. Use those foods and what is on sale that week. Just a moment, I'm getting all croaky here. Sorry, guys, need a drink of water. Or I need to stop and draw breath. Look, use those foods and what's on sale that week to make up your meal plan and your shopping list. Then just add the extra things that you need. Doing those two things alone will save you money on groceries, and they'll save you time. And time is money, folks, whether it's time to just relax or time to do something else. Just knowing that something's already planned for dinner, that you don't need to think about it as soon as you walk in the door from work or after a tiring and busy day, sitting on the lounge, drinking coffee and eating chocolates, makes it so much easier. Now, I keep a monthly meal plan on the fridge for the whole family to see. I used to print it out each month, and then I found a magnetic whiteboard calendar at Kmart. Did we get that from? Yeah. And I just fill it in at the start of each month. It's on the fridge. So anyone that wants to know what's for dinner can go and look at the fridge and go, oh, look, it's Thursday, pizza again. Look, it just stopped the incessant, what's for dinner? Question that used to start about 4:30 every afternoon when the kids were home. As soon as now they walk in the door after work, it's what's for dinner. Go and look on the fridge. And now everyone can just look at the meal plan and know what they'll be sitting down to come dinner time. If you're interested, I post my monthly meal plan in the Members Centre each month. It's what I have planned for my family to eat for the month. And it uses ingredients from the pantry, the fridge, the stockpile, whatever. Just basic ingredients, nothing fancy. I rarely use convenience type products. I prefer ingredients. You all know that, because ingredients give you options. I like options. I like to know that when I glance at the meal plan and decide I don't want enchiladas for tea tonight, I want something else, and it happens more often than not, probably 2 or 3 times a week, I'll switch the meal plan around. But it's there as a starting point. It means in the morning I don't have to worry about it. I can just look in the fridge, get whatever out, and go with it. Now, the meal plan archive goes back to 2006. It's under the recipes in the menu on our website. That's a lot of meal plans, folks. So there must be something in there that'll give you some sort of idea. Now, when I was super busy running kids to basketball and hockey and art and all sorts of places, and I had the office outside of home, oh gosh, I was frantic. I don't know how I did it. One of my favourite ways to beat the dinner time blues was to prep tomorrow night's dinner while tonight's dinner was cooking. Now, I know it sounds odd. My mum used to say that I was working, I was always at least a day ahead, and I still am. I still do this. It's a simple work ahead plan that takes away the can't be bothered, because all the work is already done. It's as simple as checking your meal plan and then getting is it raining? Then getting the meat from the freezer and putting it in the fridge to defrost, then choosing the side dishes, whatever they're going to be, prepping them and putting them in the fridge so they're ready to go next night. Then you come home, it's all done. If you have a casserole on the meal plan, prep it, cut the meat, dredge it in flour if you do that, chop the veggies, dredge them in seasoned flour or whatever the recipe calls for, put it all in the crock and pop it in the fridge. Then all you've got to do is decide whether you're going to have rice or mash or pasta. What are you going to serve with it? some sort of grain, whatever. If you're going to have mash, peel the potatoes, put them in a bowl of water in the fridge, and voila, dinner for tomorrow night's done. All you've got to do the next morning is put the crock in the slow cooker and turn it on. When you get home, put the spuds on to boil or steam or do the rice or the pasta. Dinner's done. While the potatoes are cooking, you can be prepping the next night's meal and get it into the fridge ready for when you come home tomorrow night. Now, I really, really love this method of cooking because I know what it's like to work full time. I know what it's like to have children to care for. I know what it's like to, have to do homework and reading, run to sport, music, art, time for cuddles. I know what it's like to have to do all that with a house to look after. And I can remember the feeling of so tired, I'm exhausted. And crikey, I still feel, some days I still feel that way. If dinner just needs to be heated or put on to cook, you can relax and focus on your family, guilt and stress-free. It's easy. The other thing is, don't be afraid to keep your weekday meals simple. They can be nourishing, but simple. Keep the more time-consuming recipes for the weekend. You'll have more time to cook. You'll have more time to fiddle around in the kitchen. Don't try and do those things on a weeknight. You just don't have time. Now, another way to beat the can't be bothered is to use the appliances and tools you have. You've got them in your kitchen, use them. Otherwise, they're just taking up space. Food processors save so much time chopping and grating. If you're having a casserole and soup and perhaps rissoles that all need grated onion and carrot, use your food processor to do it all at once and then just portion them out into however much you need for the casserole, for the soup, for the rissoles. You will save so much time. You will save so much work, and it's done really quickly. So there's no more dinner time blues. There's no more, temptation to waste $3,500 a year on takeaway. Now, I've talked about this before when I've talked about prepping fruit and veg so they keep for a month. It's a similar sort of thing. Just prep ahead for the week. Now, one of the best tools I have in my kitchen is my steamer. It's a 3-tier Sunbeam electric steamer, and I use it all the time. I first wanted it when the kids were younger and I'd get home late. In the morning, I'd set the steamer up, put the water in, have the trays ready. So all it had to do was be turned on. And then I'd tell the kids what veggies to put in, which tier, and when to turn it on. Now, because they weren't using the stove, I wasn't worried about them getting burning the house down. And the veggies were timed to be ready about 15 minutes after I walked in the door. It was easy. It also taught the kids. It taught the kids about meal prep. It taught the kids to think ahead about what we're eating. It taught them how to steam veggies, even if it was in an electric steamer. Start using your crock pot. Oh my goodness, this is the best time-saving tool when it comes to cooking, and it's not just for soups or stews. When you get up in the morning, you can throw your meal that you prepped the night before into the crock pot, put it on, and let it simmer all day. You don't even have to watch it. When you're ready to eat, your dinner will be hot. You'll be ready to serve. Now, some crock pots these days have an auto feature, which is really cool because it starts off on high to get everything cooking, switches to low, and then once you've set the timer, once you've set however long it's got to cook for, it goes on to a keep warm. Oh, how cool is that? So it's not going to be overcooked. Look, a crock pot or a slow cooker, the same thing, just different words, can be used all year round. Now, I use ours all year round to prepare main meals, side dishes, does the best scallop potato in the crock pot, in the slow cooker. Yep. It'll even cook a roast. I did a little lamb roast in it yesterday. In summer, the crock pot is, it's just cooler. It's easier to turn than turning the oven on. But if it's a really hot day, I'll put it out in the veranda and let it cook away. Now, another great thing to have is a stash of quick and easy meal ideas that you can throw together in 15 minutes. So things like tomato soup and grilled cheese, spaghetti on toast, sausage rolls and a salad, muffin surprise. Just quick and simple things that use ingredients that you'll keep in your pantry. There's nothing fancy in them, but they'll give you the idea that you can get dinner prepped, cooked and served in just a few minutes. And when you know that can happen, especially on weekends, it's more tempting. You're less tempted to call for pizza or Indian takeaway or whatever. And one more thing is, if you're really busy of an evening, consider freezer cooking. Best. There's a lot of bests in this show, isn't it? But freezer cooking is just amazing. Now, with this method of cooking, you'll spend 1 hour, 1 weekend, 1 day preparing a week's worth of dinners or a month's worth of dinners, and then you'll store them in the freezer. At night, you'll take out the next day's dinner, put it in the fridge and let it thaw. When your family's ready to eat, all you've got to do is warm it. Or, depending on what it is, pop it into the oven and let it cook, or into the microwave and let it cook. And while it heats through, you can do the veggies or the salad or the side dish to go with it. Now, I love doing that. I like to know I've got a stash of meals in the freezer. It's easy for me. But if the thought of preparing a whole month of meals in one weekend turns you off the idea, an easy way to build your freezer meals is to just double what you're cooking each meal. If you do it for a couple of weeks and freeze the extras, and I do this especially with spag bol sauce, lasagnas, pasta bakes, rissoles, really easy things like that, meatballs. It's just as easy to double it and cook one, freeze one, as it is to do them over and over. But you can do it with fried rice, you can do it with soup, you can do it with casseroles, you can do them with pies, all those sorts of things. If you're going to take the time to make them, it doesn't take that much longer to do a double batch. And what you cook once, you freeze one lot, you'll end up, if you do it for, a fortnight, then you've got it's 2 weeks that you don't have to cook because you've got 2 weeks worth of dinners in your freezer. That's really good. But the other thing is one cleanup. Woo, it's done. This weekend we sort of did that, in that Hannah wanted to learn how to make zucchini pickle. So we did a batch of zucchini pickle on the weekend. We've got nine jars, man.
9 jars in a bowl.
9 jars and a little bowl, yeah. Jars, not so much the jars, but lids for the jars are really hard to get. And then we did jam. So we're sort of batching our condiments this weekend. And we did 8 jars of jam. Yeah. So, and it didn't take that long. But it was one cleanup and it was done. It's nice. Now, lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys. Yeah, double. If you double each night's dinner for a couple of weeks, then you've got 2 weeks that you don't need to cook because they're already in the freezer. All you've got to do is pull them out, thaw them and heat them. Now, that might not appeal to some of you because I remember when I was a child, casseroles very popular in the 1970s. Some of them are a bit dubious. They fell out of fashion in the 80s and 90s. I don't really know why, apart from the fact they were probably a bit. But they're making a comeback amongst busy families, and for good reason. Casseroles are one-pot dinners. They're quick, they're easy to prepare, and clean up again, since there's only one pot, plus the plates and bowls and things, really easy clean up. And with casseroles, once it's in the slow cooker or the oven, it's forgotten until it's time to serve. So you are pretty much free to do other things. You don't have to keep an eye on it. You don't have to stand over the stove to do it. Now, I know lots of people will say they don't like stew, but they'll eat casserole.
Same thing.
Pretty much. Well, casseroles are cooked in the oven, stews are cooked on the stove. You know what? That to my way of thinking, that's the difference. Same, but different. Just call it casserole, It's easy. Now, if you don't have time to cook a whole meal, and some of us on some nights we don't, have soup and sandwiches. Have toasted sandwiches, although I have to say, I don't think toasted sandwiches as a meal for a family is a quick and easy meal. It's not. But there is nothing wrong with sitting down to a tin of tomato soup, or cooked, of course, and toasted cheese sandwiches. There's just not. You can easily do it. Or you can make a quick veggie soup, and that's really easy. Dice an onion and some carrot and some celery. There's my water again. This is my quick soup. Brown it in a little oil, and then when it's browned, add 2 tins of diced tomatoes, or some fresh diced tomatoes if you've got them, or if you can your own tomatoes, and 2 litres of chicken stock or veggie stock. Now, it can be stock that you've made, it can be stock from stock powder and water, it could be UHT stock, Tetra stock, whatever. Bring it to a boil, let it simmer for a little while so the veggies cook, then add half a cup maybe of rice or little tiny pasta shells, and let it boil again for 15 to 20 minutes. Test if it needs salt and pepper or parsley or whatever. If it does, add them, and that's it done. It's a really quick veggie soup. Now, I like to add celery leaves to veggie soups and just give a bit more flavour. I've still got the stalks, celery in there. Celery leaves, don't throw them out, folks. Use them, dry them or freeze them, chop them, and use them in your soups. They give such a good flavour. Look, and while your soup's cooking, you can toast some muffins or some crumpets or bread. And when the soup's done, you've got dinner done. You'll have dinner on the table in under 30 minutes. And that's faster than we can get a pizza delivered. Sometimes it's over an hour if we want pizza delivered. It's like, told you there was lots of people ordering. And the best part is you're not spending extra money for a meal. If you have leftovers, they're inexpensive lunches, but they're great freezer meals too for a mufti night. So if you don't have enough to do a whole meal, put them in single portions and let everyone take their pick on mufti night. And that could be Friday night for the end of the week, or Saturday night or Sunday night, or whatever night that you want a night off from cooking. Have a mufti night. Someone might have lasagna, and someone else might have fish cakes, and someone else might have quiche or whatever's left over. You're saving money. You're saving time. You're still feeding your family or yourself really good food. Now, a while back, I did some recipes. One of them was 7 freezer meals in 1 hour for under $30. Now, that was a couple of years ago I did that. So your $30 might be $35 now, depending on where you shop, how you shop, whatever. But if you double those meals, you'll get 14 freezer meals in 1 hour. That's 2 weeks worth of dinners, prepped, ready to thaw and cook. Another article, another story I've done is 30-minute meals. Who doesn't like the idea of getting dinner on the table from scratch in half an hour? Now, you'll need to log in for those, but I'll put the links below for you because they're in the Members Centre. But it can be done. You can do batch cooking. You can do freezer cooking, meal planning, you know. And I'll go back to this, but when you batch cook, there's very little cleanup after the initial prep day or prep afternoon or prep evening, whenever it is you do it. So when you're super tired or super busy, an easy dinner, prep cleanup, even if all you do is supervise, is absolute bliss. Now, I guess my point with this show is if you're struggling with money and you're still buying takeaway even once a week, if you're a family of 4, you are spending the equivalent of a year's grocery budget. That's 1,095 meals that your grocery budget will pay for 1,095 meals. You're buying just 260 dinners. So that's not even a meal a day. It's a lot of money. Saying you don't have time to cook dinner is no excuse. I've given you plenty of ideas to get a tasty, nutritious, grocery budget friendly, home cooked meal on the table in 30 minutes or less. So you shouldn't ever have the can't be bothered dinner time blues again, but you will, because even I get them. They just happen. You can't help it. You get to the end of the day and you go, I don't want to cook dinner tonight. Now, you might be lucky enough to have someone else that can do it for you. I didn't have anyone else that could do it for me this afternoon, so I had to do it. And it was easy because it was already done. All I had to do was put the pasta on to cook. The sauce was done, plop it on the plates, and dinner was done. It really was easy and no cleanup. I love the no cleanup thing, guys. At the end of the day, even when the kids were little and it was their job to clean up, you still have to supervise. You still have to put up with he didn't stack the dishwasher properly. He didn't put the rubbish out. She didn't do. You still have to do that. So it's exhausting. Think ahead. Think about how you can make getting dinner on the table easier, faster, and still within your budget. And really, if you're buying takeaway, you can't tell me that you can't stick to the $300 grocery challenge. Even if you use that money, that takeaway money, to add to your $300 for your grocery challenge, for your food challenge, it can be done. All right. So, okay, we've got questions. She's blurry-eyed there. Oh, her eyes are itchy. Yeah, I don't know. We've had a bit of a late run of hay fever. Let's see. Here we go. She's looking for questions. So I'd say wave, but I can't see. Got lots of people here tonight. Your eyes are really bad. Now, who did I just saw someone? Sorry, I just flew past. Someone's cooking for one. Okay, cooking for one isn't fun. It's a bit boring. So when you cook for one, this is what my mum used to do. I am yet to reach that stage, but she would still cook a family meal. She had heaps of little sort of Pyrexy freezer dishes. She would portion, if it made 4 serves, she'd eat one, put 3 in the freezer, and she would do that for 2 or 3 weeks, and then she'd just stop cooking and she'd eat from the freezer and then she'd start again. So she did it for a few weeks so that she didn't get bored. because if you don't want to eat the same thing every week. It does get boring. So, it gets boring when you're cooking for a family and you're eating the same thing all the time. So that's what Mum used to do. But the other thing you can do is just halve the recipe, and then you're only doing 2 serves. And I know it sounds odd because you're only cooking for one. So if you're coming, especially if you're coming from cooking for a family, to only do like half a chicken fillet and a small potato and a half a carrot and a scoop of peas, it might sound really weird, and you might find that you're better off to go down to smaller saucepans and smaller fry pans so that it doesn't look quite so odd. You don't look like, it doesn't look like you're being stingy because you've reduced the quantity of food you're cooking. So you need to reduce the size of the pots and pans that you use. Just like, we do it in reverse. We start out and then we have children and we increase the size of our pots and pans. The other thing you can do is just decide, Tuesday night's pasta, Wednesday night can be a curry, Thursday night can be a pizza. For one, do muffin pizzas or buy the small, what are they called? The small pittas, and use those as a base. You don't need to do big pizzas. Friday night could be fish and chips. Now, if you're going to buy cardboard fish, like frozen fish and frozen wedges, then you've got 5 or 6 meals. I don't know how many is in a packet. 6 in a packet of frozen fish. Depends what you buy, I guess. So, that's a few meals that you've got there ready to do. Do it like that. I know it's tempting. It's really tempting. And sometimes I've had people say to me, but it's cheaper. It's cheaper to buy whatever. It might seem cheaper, but you're still shopping and you're still buying other food. So if you're not using it, that's wasted. So it's not, and you've got that expense on top of your grocery bill. It's not always cheaper. All right, now let me try again and see. We're doing, yep, Patricia's gone freezers. Yep, love my freezer. Just try batch cooking. Okay, so if you work full time, okay, so on whatever day you're going to make a batch of pasta sauce, you're going to make a batch of rissoles, you'll do a batch of fried rice, you might do a batch of sweet and sour chicken. That's 4. What's another one we could have? A pot of soup. Okay, so you'll do 5. Now it shouldn't take you any more than 2 hours. If it even takes that long, it shouldn't take that long to prep those meals and get them ready. Now you can decide whether you're going to cook them and freeze them cooked, or prep them and freeze them raw so that you just cook them when you get home. Depending on what tools you have, what appliances you have to use, is how you go about that. Yeah, Delaney's right. Selection of meals and rotate them. And the best part though, cooking for one, the best part is you get to choose what you eat all the time and you get to eat your favourite stuff. You don't have to think about, I don't have to think that, Wayne doesn't really like fish and Hannah doesn't like spicy food and Alan doesn't like meatloaf. Cook what I wanted. You're cooking for yourself, you cook what you like to eat. You don't have to worry about anyone else. Karen, what'd she say? She just timed how long it took her to cook dinner tonight. Chicken breast, grilled, fresh tomato, mushrooms, and onion. 14 minutes, yeah. 14 minutes. It's a really easy thing to do. It's just thinking about it at the last minute. If you can think about it in the morning or the night before, like I suggested, and when our kids were little, I loved getting tomorrow night's dinner ready tonight, because who knows what chaos is going to happen in the course of a day, you know? And right now, our world is in chaos anyway, so anything could go wrong, turn upside down or whatever. So at least if dinner's done, it's one thing you don't have to worry about if, you know, Murphy does come calling. Karen has pizza on Sundays. We have it on Thursdays. Yep. Well, the boys have it on Thursdays. Hannah and I usually have something else because we're not fond of pizza. All right, Julie. Thought cutting or prepping veggies an hour before? No. Okay. Depends on how you store them. All right. I need to do a whole show on this. In winter, because we eat more cooked veggies in winter, in summer we have salads, but in winter I will do a week's worth of veggies on a Sunday morning, portion them out into meal sizes, and I will vacuum seal them and keep them in the fridge. It takes me maybe half an hour, 35 minutes to do that on a Sunday morning. I don't have to worry about the veggies for the rest of the week. They're done. It depends how you keep them. Now, I'm sure some of you have probably done this, but peeled potatoes, put them in a bowl of water, pop them in the fridge and forgotten about them. They go irky really quickly. I wouldn't keep potatoes longer than overnight in the fridge in water. So, but carrots don't need to go into water. They can go into a tupper, peel them, dice them, chop them, slice them, put them into rings or straws or whatever, and they can go into a Tupperware container. Same with your peas and beans and corn, can do that too. All those sorts of things. Broccoli, cauliflower, shredded cabbage, can all do that. Now, cabbage doesn't like to be airtight, folks. So you're best to put cabbage into a green bag, a fresh and crisp bag if you can, and just leave it loosely twisted. Cabbage does not like to be airtight. But yeah, hello, Helen. So yeah. Now, let me see. Yep, steamers, crock pots, best things ever. Now, my electric steamer that the kids used to use, that I still use, was a Christmas present from my brother and sister-in-law. I love it. And it does boiled eggs. It will boiled eggs in the steamer. It will do Jim Sims. Does all sorts of things. Potatoes, yep. Yeah, see, Karen does it too. She says they're just two oldies. But she always cooks for 4 and freezes 2 meals. Great. And Helen, small electrical appliance is a great money saver. Yes, it is. Look, you can run your crock pot for 8 hours to cook a soup or a casserole or whatever, and not have it cost as much as having the oven on for 2 hours to do that same casserole or stew or whatever, roast. Rosie batch cooks, yes. Yeah, well, Rosie, I do the camping thing too. There's nothing quite as nice as going with Wayne coming home and going, I think we'll we'll go away this weekend and I can go to the freezer and go ba-dong, 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 and our meals are done. And they're all there ready to go. It's really nice. Kathleen bought ready bake date night. Cool. And saved $100. That's nice. That's nice. Nah. 2 pie makers made in 6 minutes. Yep. Chicken and vegetable pies. Pie makers are great. Now, they're great for making pies, but that obviously, as in deliberately making pies for a meal, but so handy for turning leftovers and little bits of leftovers into something that everybody really likes. Kath, I have a problem freezing cooked rice when defrosted. It's wet. Okay. Flash freeze it. So don't put it on a biscuit tray or a dinner plate or whatever. Pop it in the freezer for about 20 minutes. Make sure it's cold before you freeze it. And that will bring the temperature down. And that also stops it clumping. And then I vacuum seal my rice, but do it again when it's cold and frozen. Otherwise, it sort of sucks into a big blob. Yeah. Let's see. Retirees who tend to have a main meal at lunch, light one at night. Helen, that's a healthy way to eat, actually. Yep. Okay. Sorry, Patricia, I'm just reading and I put out something to remind me what I was to cook that night. Yep. It doesn't, getting dinner on the table doesn't have to be hard work. Doesn't have to be time consuming. Doesn't have to. Keep it simple. Make, like I said, come up with a few meals that are really quick and easy. Come up with a few side dishes or veggies that your family will, they will eat without question, and rotate through them. It's time management, like I said before, but it's also, I think, just getting into the habit of doing it. Just getting into the habit of doing it. And you know what? Every now and then you do need a break. And so if you have the money in your entertainment budget or whatever it is, and you want to get something delivered, then do that. Just don't make a habit of it and don't use your grocery budget. And especially if you tell me that you can't stick to the $300 a month grocery budget, that $300 a month isn't enough, but you're buying takeaway, or you tell me that you can't afford to pay your bills, but you're buying takeaway, I'm going to come back to you and I'm going to say, stop buying the takeaway. Use that money to boost your grocery budget until you reach where you can manage on it, or use that money to pay your bills. You don't spend money that you need for other things on stuff you don't need. We live the cheapskates way, so that, I say it all the time, we ditch the things that aren't important to us so that we have the money to enjoy the things that are. Now, takeaway is not important. Food is important. We need to eat and we need to feed our children, but we don't need to feed them takeaway. You can do fakeaway, yes. We do fakeaway on Thursday nights with our pizza. So you need to switch your mind Think about it come at it from a different angle. And I know I'll get screamed at for this because, I don't understand how hard it is and I don't know how tough it is. And, you deserve a treat or someone, whatever. Again, you don't spend money on takeaway when you can't pay bills. The cost of a takeaway meal will buy 3 or 4 days worth of food to feed your family. One meal will. So, it's really important to understand that. I'm not very good at getting this across, but it is really important to understand that if you're buying takeaway, you're wasting your money. I'm not saying don't have it. Don't have it for special occasions. Don't have it if you can afford it. And also, if you're in debt and want to get out of debt and still buying takeaway, give it up. Stop right now. It's only until you're out of debt. Once you are out of debt, if you want to eat whatever every night of the week, then you can do that because you will have the money to be able to do that. But if you don't have the money to pay your bills, you don't have the money to put food on the table, you can't afford takeaway, no matter how cheap it sounds, because it's not. It's just not cheap. Eggs on toast. Yep. Rachel, my containers for freezing. I have Tupperware containers that I've had since before I was married. I have some Kmart containers that I've had for a gazillion years. I have decor containers. I have lock and lock containers. I have a lot of secondhand Tupperware that I picked up at op shops. I tend to use my vacuum sealer for lots of things, so I do that. And takeaway containers. Now, Kmart has this range of for freezer meals, meal prep containers, and they're either 2 compartments or 3 compartments.
Can I get 1 compartment, 2 compartments, 3 compartments?
Yeah, so it's either a full container, it's split in half, or you've got 3 compartments. So really good for curries and stuff like that, because you do the curry, you do the rice, put your poppadoms in, put the lid on it, and they go in the freezer. Now I thought they were expensive. Hannah didn't think they were, but they're $8 a set, something like that. $8 for 10 or something. They're quite sturdy. They go through the dishwasher a few times. They're great. Now, they are really good for short-term freezer storage. Anything you put in the freezer long-term needs to be airtight. Otherwise, you're going to get freezer burn on your food, and we don't want that. But I use all sorts of things. When I run out of containers and I haven't got roll for the food saver, I will double bag in freezer bags. Push the air out, tie a knot in it, pull it tight, then double bag it in freezer bags. I've been known to do that too. But as long as you can get it airtight, especially if it's going to be in the freezer for longer than a couple of weeks, it needs to be airtight. Yeah. But don't be precious about brand styles of containers or whatever for your freezer. Square and rectangular are obviously better. If you can get them with sort of rounded corners instead of sharp corners, so that they stack and will sit neatly next to each other, but there's just a little bit of rounding so the air can still get between them to keep everything evenly frozen. That helps, but Pyrex freezers, and it's great for if you do double casseroles, put one in the Pyrex, put it in the freezer. If you know you're going to use it next week, it will be fine. Any longer, you run the risk of freezer burn. Patricia, you know what? Often we go out and think something's going to be really, because we pay for it, we expect it to be better than what we can do at home, and just isn't. Yeah. Jules, 301 Jules, do you freeze before vacuum sealing, or is it the other way around? Depends what it is that you're vacuum sealing. Things like rice or meatballs that I don't want to squash, because when you vacuum seal, it squashes, you've probably seen it squashes everything down, compacts it really well. So rice, I will flash freeze, just so it doesn't turn into a glob. Same with pasta. Meatballs, I will do that with sausages. I tend to put them in the freezer for about half an hour before I vacuum seal them, just so they don't all get squished together, that sort of thing. But it really depends on what it is. Now, if it's a cooked casserole or sauce, pasta sauce or whatever, I like to let it cool completely before I vacuum seal it. So, yeah. Tupperware mouth. Maureen's got Tupperware mouthing. That sounds really good. All right. So, thank you for joining me tonight. There will be a show next week. I will be away, so it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But there will be a show next week, and I'm answering a question that popped up in comments a few weeks ago. So I've got it all prepared, all ready to go. So 7:30 next Tuesday night. I'll be back even if I'm not here. I will be away. Alrighty. If you liked our show tonight, please give us a thumbs up. It works with the YouTube whatevers to give us a ranking. Makes it easier for you to find us or something. If you know someone that might benefit from our show tonight, please use the share button and let them send it to them. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do, so that we can notify you each week or every time I put up a new video. Have a great fortnight, everyone, and I will see you again in 2 weeks' time. I'll be back live in 2 weeks' time. Okay, take care and good night.